the baby born in the underground labyrinth. He became an orphan as soon as he was born. He could only drink the milk of monsters to grow up. So this child has extraordinary power. He is so powerful that he is not considered human. As the battle progresses, children like this are constantly being rescued. Jim is a child who was rescued from the underground labyrinth more than 10 years ago. He was later adopted by the Amira family because he spent his childhood in the underground labyrinth. He was commissioned by his younger sister to join an underground photography team as a guide. Who would have thought they had only been in the underground labyrinth for less than 10 minutes? Trust Fund Kid and his sister were tired. Despite the warnings, they insisted on stopping to rest in place. Jim could only compromise with this. He reminded the accompanying bodyguards that they should not use firearms if they encounter monsters, and they should try to avoid conflicts as much as possible. Unexpectedly, his reminder was met with ridicule from the bodyguards. They taunted him, saying he was just a timid guide. Seeing this, Jim stopped speaking. While you guys are chatting here, a bloody slaughter may be happening somewhere in the labyrinth. Sure enough, with a cry from the Trust Fund Kid, everyone's heart immediately jumped. Following the direction, they could vaguely see a blurry figure in the darkness. At the same time, low growls could be heard. As the dark figure appeared, everyone finally saw that it was an injured horned beast, bloodied and limping. The bodyguards immediately raised their guns and moved to the front, forming a battle formation. Jim hurriedly tried to stop it, but it was already too late. The bodyguards had already pulled the trigger. Massive damage, causing the horned beast to let out a huge roar before its death. The reverberating sound waves made tears flow uncontrollably from the bodyguard's nostrils. Fortunately, the horned beast quickly fell dead due to its severe injuries. The bodyguards then gradually recovered from the shock. They began to feel scared afterwards. Luckily, there was only one horned beast, and it was already injured. Just the monster's roar alone had already made them lose their ability to resist. If there were two more monsters, the outcome would have been unimaginable. They all endured their fear, looking at each other with awkward smiles. The bodyguards at least put on a good show in front of the boss. Maybe there will be extra rewards after the mission is over. However, Jim was secretly nervous to the point of clenching his fists. He urged everyone to drop the package and leave quickly. Return to the ground. But these people ignored him and continued to boast about their brave performance just now. At this moment, several roars of monsters could be heard. This sudden sound caused Jim's pupils to shrink. It must have been the gunshots from earlier that attracted the monsters. The sound still seems distant. If we escape to the exit now, we might make it in time. I didn't expect those bodyguards to lose themselves in boasting to each other. They actually wanted to stay behind to kill more monsters. The horned beast that they easily dealt with just now is worth millions. If a group of monsters come later, they will kill two each as planned. Each person will earn over tens of millions. This is much more than what a regular mission pays. Jim on the side overheard this, and thought these were unrealistic words of a dreamer. He then remained silent, and decided to leave with his sister and Trust Fund Kid. But the younger sister was not willing to leave like that. She thought it would be great material for filming. She was about to speak when she was shaken by Jim's icy eyes. She could only obediently follow Jim's footsteps and leave. Unexpectedly, the more she ran, the more unwilling her little sister became. After all, she had prepared for a long time, and spent a lot of money to come here for this shoot. She became angry and insisted on dragging Trust Fund Kid back to continue shooting. She even sarcastically called Jim a coward. But before Jim could offer any words of comfort, a few gunshots and the monster's roar from far away responded to her. The sound frightened her, causing a change in her facial expression. Jim suppressed his anger and said quietly, "Quiet! Let's hurry. Those few bodyguards won't delay for long. We can't let Monster notice. We were separated from that team. Otherwise, they will catch up soon." Upon hearing this, the younger sister also realizes It seems the older brother had already anticipated the outcome of those bodyguards. She, bursting with holy virtue, in turn challenged Jim why he didn't persuade the bodyguards to leave at that time. At this moment, Jim was no longer hiding. The injured horned beast appeared inexplicably. It means that it is another group of monsters hunting down the prey. If I wasted time trying to persuade the bodyguards at that time, I guess we would all have died there. However, Trust Fund Kid, who had been filming with a DV camera on the side, noticed bloodstains on his shoes at this moment. He turned the DV camera around and started filming. On the screen, a monster with full of sharp teeth suddenly appeared. Next, a gaping bloody mouth was approaching him. The sound of the falling DV camera caught the attention of the brother and sister. He turned his head to see that Trust Fund Kid had become the monster's meal. He appeared to be on the brink of death. However, he was still stubbornly shouting for help. He was born in an underground labyrinth. He grew up drinking monster's milk. He was rescued at the age of 6 and later adopted and raised by a kind family. To repay his foster family, he plans to prepare a generous dowry for his sister. He promised to serve as a guide for the underground photography team Trust Fund Kid in return for this. Little did they know, under his guidance, not a single team member survived. Jim recognized at a glance. This is a monster called Wolf Ape, agile in its movements and possessing boundless strength. It is tricky as this type of monster belongs to a group. Sure enough, the Wolf Ape group has charged into the team for slaughter. In an instant, several teammates became food in the mouths of the monsters. Jim even saw a Wolf Ape pounce towards his sister. In the blink of an eye, Jim ran over quickly. At the same time, he swiftly reached behind with his right hand to grab the sheath of the knife in his backpack. He drew the knife with his backhand and held it in his hand. At this moment, his pupils unexpectedly turned black. He scanned Wolf Ape's entire body with his eyes. In an instant, Wolf Ape's weaknesses appeared in his eyes. Then his figure transformed into that of a swimming dragon from bottom to top. A set of silky continuous moves. He accurately targeted the weak points all over the Wolf Ape's body. Where the blade passed, blood arrows erupted instantly. Suddenly, he caught sight of another Wolf Ape sneaking up behind his sister out of the corner of his eye. It raised its arms, ready to strike down. In an instant, he boldly threw the long knife in his hand. It carried a strong wind and shot straight at the Wolf Ape's face. He used the force from his toes to kick fiercely, and then leaped off towards where the Wolf Ape was rushing towards his sister. At the moment he landed, he immediately lifted his sister up by the waist. I told you to throw away the package a long time ago. Carrying such a heavy bag on your back. If I run later, it will break your ribs. But there is no other way now, you have to hold on. The Wolf Ape on the other side, with its eyes scratched, has been stimulated to its animalistic nature. Ignoring the pain, it swings its huge arms around chaotically. But Jim is faster. In the blink of an eye, he has already moved several meters away. The Wolf Ape then endured the pain and pulled out a long knife from its eye. It found that all the team members had been eaten up by its companions. It was so angry that it howled towards the sky with a hoarse roar, as if venting its frustration at not getting any food. On the other side, Brother Jim and his sister had already escaped to a certain distance and stopped to rest. Amira, please adjust your condition quickly. The Wolf Ape may still come after us, so we need to hurry. Temporary safety. Let the sister recover from the shock just now. But along with awakening comes her saint complex. She began to accuse Jim with tears in her eyes, clearly possessing martial arts skills. Why didn't he take action to defeat all the monsters and save his teammates? The younger sister looked at him accusingly with blame in her eyes. At these words, Jim's face immediately darkened. Because it was agreed upon in the contract that his duty was only to be a guide. And along the way, he warned in advance of any possible accidents. He was diligent and responsible, but was completely ignored by these stupid teammates. If it weren't for the safety of his sister, He would never want to revisit the old place in any case. Suddenly a strange change abruptly appeared before him, and it inexplicably lit up. Through the brightness, it could be seen. The pattern that emerged on the stone wall was that of a badge. Jim was suddenly shocked and turned pale, because he knew it was the labyrinth badge. He had just dragged his sister to dash into the house crazily, and suddenly the ground cracked and collapsed beneath his feet in the labyrinth. No time to react. The siblings fell into the deep pit together. Jim didn't know how long it took for him to slowly regain consciousness. He only realized that his left arm was broken when he struggled to lift himself up. But even worse, he couldn't find any trace of his sister Amira around him. He had already vaguely made the worst assumptions in his heart. Looking at the labyrinth sign on the gate in front of him, he guessed that he might have fallen into the central chamber of the labyrinth. He planned to leave the chamber and go out to look for his sister. However, just as he was about to pass through the gate, he accidentally saw the giant snake twisting on the badge come to life. It stuck out its forked tongue and stared at him with its eyes fixed on him. Before he could react, the giant snake swiftly attacked him. It bit his injured left wrist at a very tricky angle. In an instant, a wave of dizziness hit him. He thought to himself, "This is bad. It seems that he was going to die here today." However, a voice echoed in his mind. "You will inherit this ominous underground labyrinth." His consciousness gradually became blurred and fell into a coma. The man was preparing a dowry for his half-sister. He risked becoming a guide for the underground labyrinth, but encountered frequent challenges along the way. First, there was a series of silly actions by his foolish teammates. They attracted a large number of fierce wolf apes. This almost led to the entire team being wiped out. They barely managed to escape. He was bitten by a mystic serpent. He passed out. I don't know how long he was unconscious. Jim suddenly opened his eyes and found himself still alive. He calmed down and began to recall the previous weird events. He could clearly feel the numbness and weakness spreading from where the snake had bitten him. But now not only had his body healed, even his severed arm had regenerated. But it wasn't the time to think too much at the moment. He had to quickly find his sister and leave the labyrinth. Not long after, he found his sister near the entrance to the first floor of the labyrinth. Although his sister suffered serious injuries, she was still breathing. She must be quickly taken to the hospital for treatment. So he carefully lifted his sister up and walked towards the exit of the labyrinth. It has been a week since the last underground exploration. This matter has become a news story reported on television. Everything has returned to normal. The only difference is the location where he was bitten by the snake on his wrist. There appeared an eerie snake-shaped tattoo there inexplicably. What's even more bizarre is that every time he touches it with his hand, the tattoo lights up with green light. Soon after, a control interface appeared, presenting various parameters of this named Garo tribe labyrinth. And Jim became his 123rd master. Out of curiosity, Jim searched online for a long time, but he didn't find any useful information. However, today he accidentally touched the control interface and pierced it. With a loud noise, the space in his own bedroom shattered like a mirror. Everything happened so suddenly that he didn't have time to react. A sense of weightlessness swept over him as he fell backwards. But in the next second, the scene instantly switched to a dark and dimly lit secret room. Jim, looking bewildered, calmed his mind. He looked around and saw the familiar emblem of the coiled snake and sword on the wall. He breathed a sigh of relief. However, at that moment, rustling sounds came from above his head. He looked up and was instantly scared out of his wits, causing his hair to stand on end. That snake came back to life. Its big eyes stared straight at him. That's too much bullying. Want to take another bite, huh? At the same time, his brain was working rapidly to come up with a countermeasure. He recalled that he had suffered before because the snake moved too fast. He decided to take off his coat and prepared to seize the opportunity. Sure enough, Mystic Serpent used the same trick again. With a flash, It had swooped in front of him. Jim seized the chance and threw his coat to cover the snake's head. Then he swiftly tied a few tight knots. It turned out to be effective. Mystic Serpent seemed to have lost its target. He crawled back to his original position slowly. "Next time I'll bring a knife and cut you 7 inches. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded. "You have become the inheritor of Labyrinth and have taken the throne of Garo. But you are still too weak to bear the weight of the crown. I believe that all of this is the arrangement of fate." This inexplicable remark instantly frightened Jim. Because he had an unbearable experience living in the underground labyrinth, when he was young, he grew up very resistant to and opposed to everything related to the underground labyrinth. This time, he took on the commission to become a guide in order to prepare the dowry for his younger sister. He followed the direction of the sound, roaring in refusal of the other party's nonsensical comment. But the voice fell silent, never to reappear. Just as he was raging helplessly, little did he know that in a dark corner, a figure was quietly observing him. Being secretly watched, he suddenly felt it and turned around abruptly. However, he seemed to only see a tail flash by from the darkness. Just as he was about to step forward to investigate, the voice of the younger sister came from outside the room. He felt helpless all of a sudden. How could he explain the sci-fi-like scene in front of him? "Forget it, just open the door first. But don't let her into the bedroom." He rushed back into the bedroom in one big step. But his movement was too large and knocked off several large pieces of the spatial barrier. However, the next second, a tearing pain surged through his body like an electric shock. It made him shudder in horror instantly. After a quick check, he found himself unharmed. At this moment, he had no time to think and quickly opened the door. He slightly shifted his position to block the way and took the initiative to ask about his sister's purpose. Who would have known that his sister hesitated for a long time before finally lowering her head? She apologized to him. Jim pretended not to care and responded. He told his sister not to take it to heart. He then reached into his pocket, planning to use the earnings as a dowry for his sister. He realized that the payment was actually in his coat. He subconsciously looked towards the direction of the labyrinth. But the scene before him made his pupils contract suddenly. A little monster had taken the coat off the snake's head and was rummaging through the pockets as if stealing something. He felt something was wrong in his heart. When he turned around, he found out that his house had been stolen by a minion. What kind of feeling is it to suffer a loss of 500,000 due to theft by a minion? However, the man remained calm and bid farewell to his sister. He then hastily closed the door and quickly locked it. He quickly rushed back to the secret room and hurried towards the stairs. But at this time, the stolen minion was nowhere to be found. He quickly picked up the coat and poured out the items inside. He suddenly felt his mood sink to the bottom of the valley. Damn it, everything else was there except the envelope containing money. He angrily threw down his coat and slumped on the throne in frustration. That was the hard-earned money saved from working painstakingly for a long time. That was to repay the kindness of his foster family. He planned to prepare a dowry for his sister. At this moment, his palm inadvertently touched the pearl on the armrest of the throne. A set of control interface appeared in the air. It turns out that the pearl on the throne and the tattoo on the arm can both summon the control interface. According to the system prompt, in order to find that minion, Jim must first complete, synchronize, and activate the labyrinth entrance. He presses the sync confirmation button without hesitation. The originally dim secret room suddenly lit up with dazzling white light in an instant. Immediately, a low voice sounded in his mind. "Garo Labyrinth, 123rd Generation Master Jim, activation successful." As the system syncs, obtaining Jim's personal information. The dark and eerie secret room that was there before is gradually undergoing changes. Before long, the labyrinth is reorganized. Compared to its previous appearance, what lies before us has been greatly enhanced. Summon the control panel. Other than the additional information about the entrance to the labyrinth, there have been no other changes. But what does this mean? We agreed to synchronize and activate the entrance to the labyrinth. Then we can find the minion and get the money back. Just as Jim was full of complaints about this, when he turned off the control interface, a sneaky figure appeared at the entrance of the labyrinth. They locked eyes, verifying that this was indeed the one he was looking for. Minion immediately turned around to flee. Unexpectedly, Jim flashed even faster and appeared behind Minion in the blink of an eye. He reached out with one hand and grabbed its neck directly, lifting it up. Such subtle tactics clearly did not scare the minion. The little guy's ingratitude did not sit well with Jim. He delivered a big iron fist straight to the face of the minion. The effect was immediate, and the minion immediately became obedient. "Before I kill you, quickly return the money." Minion unexpectedly shook his head repeatedly to indicate no. "Very well, I'm starting to appreciate your courage now." His fist clenched once again as he spoke. Don't say that the minion is also a discerning one. It hurriedly reached into its clothes to search. The next second, a large red gem was handed to Jim. "I want money, not your crappy stuff," he said. However, when he looked closely, it turned out to be velvet gem. This is a type of gem that condenses on rare plants growing in geysers. Due to its rarity and unique growth environment, it is almost impossible for humans to find it. Usually, people have to take risks, go kill dangerous monsters to obtain it. Therefore, its price remains high. Just 1 carat can be sold for millions. This one in front of me could easily fetch tens of millions. Jim's hands were shaking with excitement, and the strength in his hands involuntarily increased a bit. His actions, in the eyes of Minion, had a completely different meaning. It broke out in cold sweats, obviously trying to survive. One is not enough, more money. It instantly understood and reached into its clothes to search for it. This time it actually took out a blue velvet gem. This scene left Jim unsure of what to do. These 2 gems are worth tens of millions. He grip tightened in excitement, but Minion's face was now flushed red from being squeezed. It seemed like it was nearing its limit. It couldn't help but let out a loud roar. The gem in its hand was also thrown out as a result. In the blink of an eye, Jim quickly let go and released Minion. His figure quickly flashed in the direction where Jim was falling. I didn't expect that he only caught one. The other one touched his wrist and bounced away. The gem fell on the steps. At this moment, Jim turned around to catch Minion, but it was too late. Then Minion had already leaped several times, and was about to escape out of the door. He was pretty fast. But considering these 2 velvet gems, I'll spare you. He didn't realize that the gem that fell on the steps was slowly floating up. In an instant, the outer layer of the gem inexplicably shattered. There was a vibration inside the sealed room. This movement gave Jim a sense of foreboding. He slowly turned around to look behind him. The man was accidentally bitten by a snake on his arm 7 inches. Unexpectedly, he inherited an ancient hidden chamber of the Garo tribe. Therefore, he was able to freely navigate the dangerous and opportunity-filled world of the underground labyrinth. Today, he accidentally dropped a gem worth millions. In an instant, it was unexpectedly sucked up by the secret room, ready to be absorbed. Jim suddenly turned around. The control interface unexpectedly popped up a prompt. Consuming a medium gem will repair and upgrade the durability of the labyrinth. Seeing this situation, he immediately exerted his strength and pounced towards the altar with the gem in hand. But it was too late. The energy of the gem has been absorbed by the altar and turned into ashes. Pop-up window shows 24-hour durability repair. Labyrinth upgrade will be completed after 72 hours. He felt like 100 claws scratching at his heart at once. That gem is worth millions. He had no choice but to sell the remaining red gem for 18 million to the swindler. 2 days later, the younger sister married her beloved with this generous dowry and the blessings of her relatives. Upon returning home, Jim still couldn't let go of the gem that had been consumed by the labyrinth. Just have to hope that this upgrade will be worth it. Only 24 seconds left until the labyrinth upgrade is complete. Soon with the system prompt. The labyrinth has successfully upgraded to level 2. He couldn't wait to stand up and say, "Open the door!" There was a space in front of him. It cracked like a mirror, revealing an entrance. As he stepped in, the control interface of the labyrinth also appeared. One of the prompt messages piqued his interest. That's when the labyrinth ascends to level 2, unlocking the Garo's nest. He couldn't wait to walk into the room and investigate. On the wall inside the room, there were several compartments filled with straw, but they were all empty. Curious, he walked into the room, intending to find out more. Unexpectedly, after only taking a few steps, he felt something eerie making noise behind him. Shortly after, creepy noises started to sound from all around, and they were closing in on him. However, the next moment, what appeared before him were 6 cute baby snakes. He summoned the system panel to display. They were summoned as Labyrinth upgraded. He could command them to do whatever is within their capabilities. Looking at this group of level 1 adorable pets with big eyes, they seemed to be waiting for their owner to assign tasks. He scratched his head. But luckily, he had played strategic MMORPGs before. He divided the 6 baby snakes into 2 groups, with 3 in each group. One group was sent out to explore the surroundings of the labyrinth. The second group is assigned to be laborers at home. They need to dig out a storage room. But Jim doesn't have high expectations for these baby snakes. After all, judging from their appearance, they are all short and small. Who would have thought? These 3 baby snakes at home work exceptionally hard. They dug the storage room in just 1 hour. The baby snake set out to explore soon returned. How come there is only one left now? He felt a sense of unease in his heart. Is it so dangerous outside the sealed room? Did the other 2 die outside? With doubts in his mind, he quickly ran up to ask Baby Snake. It turned out that they had harvested too many spoils while exploring. So those 2 baby snakes stayed behind to guard the spoils. What a lucky break. No matter how you look at the baby snake in front of you, it's always cute. The baby snake obediently passed the map over. Jim opened the map and couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The baby snakes have investigated the situation around the secret room in great detail. This can bring great convenience for future development. On the other side, Baby Snake has poured out all the spoils brought back. But it disappointed Jim greatly. Distinguishable from appearance and condition, they are all broken, rusty miscellaneous items and weapons. It looks like they are all antiques from the Geyser War era. However, based on these items, one can deduce the location of the secret chamber. It should be in a remote area of the underground labyrinth, otherwise these items would have been picked up long ago. Suddenly, a few shining objects caught Jim's attention. He quickly rushed over and started searching through them. It turned out to be 3 velvet gems, although 2 of them were very small. Baby Snake looked at him in a way that seemed he had never seen the world before, indicating that along the way, he had seen many stones like this. This suddenly made Jim smell the scent of money. He excitedly grabbed Baby Snake and shook it. He immediately got up to go search. But just as he ran halfway, he suddenly realized his own secret chamber defenses were still so weak. What should we do if monsters come to steal while we are away? But soon he had an idea. That is simply to upgrade the secret room with these gemstones without hesitation. Just do it. He ran straight to the platform and threw the gems into the altar. With the prompt from the system, Jim finally realized. Did he just consume the valuable gem again? Worth tens of millions. He has successfully moved one step further away from his small goal. Now he finally understands why humans, knowing that the underground labyrinth is very dangerous, still flock to it, even risking their lives for it. Since it's so interesting here, and I'm bored to death lately anyway, then I'll have a good time playing big in this underground labyrinth. revive the glory of the Garo Empire. The man was accidentally bitten by a snake on his arm 7 inches. He unexpectedly inherited an ancient Garo tribe labyrinth. At the same time, he also got these 6 adorable pets that are short and small. However, in this labyrinth, there is only a broken chair. The rest is just air. Even the mice that come in have to cry and go back. In order to turn the situation around, he gritted his teeth and sacrificed a few velvet gems. According to Swindler, those are gems worth tens of millions. Shortly after the upgrade of Labyrinth, there was a prompt. Now there are 2 types of units that can be summoned. The first type is called Garo Guard, praised as the fearless ones. They are skilled in various combat techniques. The second type belongs to a managerial unit with high intelligence. They can handle labyrinth affairs and lead troops in battle, but are weak in combat, being purely intellectual workers. Both types of units are urgently needed by Jim. However, the only thing that bothers him is the summoned soldiers require a certain amount of gem consumption every month. This makes him even more eager to get velvet gem. Now he can only live frugally to make ends meet. With his call, a spatial rift appeared out of thin air in front of him. After a dazzling white light, in front of him stood a fierce Garo guard. This set of weapons and equipment is capable of both attacking and defending in battle. It looks quite reliable. Immediately, he gave orders to the Garo guard to guard the warehouse. This guy's huge build. I estimate he could push through levels 1 to 3 of the underground labyrinth by himself. Then he used up 2 lower-class gems to summon management-type troops. Another spatial crack appeared in front of him. Suddenly, things seemed a bit off. The crack in front of him was unexpectedly large. The control system also popped up a prompt at this moment, due to the activation of the mysterious geyser. The one summoned this time will be a hero-level figure. Administrator Dominic. Before Jim could react, a graceful figure appeared in front of him. What's going on? Is this a maid outfit or a Lolita outfit? Call up the control interface. He realized that the person in front of him was extraordinary. This is a true management genius dedicated to helping the master handle all kinds of tasks. At this moment, Jim remains impassive. But in reality, he inwardly sighs with relief at having struck gold this time. It seems that the days of driving a Ferrari single-handedly are not far away for oneself. So he immediately began to arrange the task at hand. Let's call you Domi in the future because the name Dominic is too long. Later, he shared the map information with Domi after some investigation. Near the Garo Labyrinth, there are not only mineral veins, but also plants that can produce velvet gems. In order to come up with a reasonable maintenance plan, the two decided to conduct an on-site investigation first. After a thorough on-site survey, Domi proposed many schemes beneficial for the development of the Garo Labyrinth, such as breaking through the fragile cave walls, shortening the distance to the vein, and setting up collecting stations along the way. At the same time, she made arrangements for the harvesting of velvet gems near the geyser. Of course, since she has come, she naturally wanted to harvest the gem that had already formed. Jim looked on in astonishment, secretly giving her a thumbs up. She is someone who knows how to live. This behavior of not picking up money when going out is considered a loss. Isn't it an excellent quality of a manager? There are defense installations. The details such as drinking water supply are well planned. Of course, to accomplish all these tasks, a large number of personnel is needed. Therefore, she suggests Jim to increase manpower and upgrade the labyrinth as soon as possible. But Jim just wants to be a figurehead. He plans to leave all these trivial matters to Domi to handle. After all, he can't be watching over Labyrinth all the time. Little did he know, both suggestions made by Domi are things only the owner of Labyrinth can handle. Even with her high level, she cannot substitute. This suddenly made Jim realize there is a fatal problem. If he does not serve as a good master, will these Garo people leave him or rebel? Upon hearing this, Domi assured Jim not to worry too much. Even if a monster harms the master of the labyrinth, It cannot inherit the labyrinth, because only those chosen by the labyrinth can become its master. So no Garo people would be foolish enough to overthrow the royal family that protects them. In this way, Jim finally has a rough understanding. He consumes another 3 intermediate gems to upgrade the labyrinth. He also returns to the surface and arrives at Swindler's shop. He plans to sell the velvet gem in his hand. During the period, Swindler subtly tried to learn about the origin of the gem, but Jim managed to sidestep the issue with just a few words. But Swindler is not planning to give up, because now there is a gem brought back by the explorer from the underground labyrinth. The gems are becoming scarcer, so he has always been in a situation of high demand and short supply. Swindler said that he would provide Jim with information about the underground labyrinth for free. But he needs Jim to prioritize selling the gem to him after obtaining it. Jim is indeed very interested in Swindler's proposition. Swindler then provided him with some information. Inside the underground labyrinth in the P State, there is a group of infernal spiders there, and there are rumors that they have the velvet gem. The transaction went smoothly this time, just as Jim was about to take the money and leave. The swindler said, "Young man, I know you have a family to support." Upon hearing this, Jim was suddenly furious. He turned around and punched with all his might. He angrily smashed the big counter in front of the swindler, and the counter shattered with a loud noise. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He said sinisterly, "How dare you investigate my background?